Hello there, and welcome to the sleepy sky. I'm so glad you found your way here tonight. Maybe today has left a soft echo in your thoughts, a few loose fragments still drifting through your mind like pale clouds after sunset. Or maybe you simply felt a quiet pull toward a place where nothing is expected of you, where the world can fall away for a while. Tonight, we are going to wander slowly through some of the most calming truths about the planet beneath you. Not as a lesson to memorize, but as a gentle story to rest inside. You do not need to remember any detail. You do not need to follow every thread. You are allowed to simply listen and let the sound become another way of closing your eyes. Outside the window, or just behind your imagination, the earth is already settling into night. The sky deepens, shade by shade, as if someone is slowly dimming a vast blue lantern. Streetlights may glow. A few distant sounds may linger, a car humming past, a door closing softly, the murmur of voices fading down a hallway. As the light thins, the planet tilts you gently toward darkness, toward the side of itself that faces away from the sun. That tilt is constant and unhurried, a slow turning that is carried every evening you have ever known. In this patient motion, there is something comforting. The earth keeps its rhythm, whether we notice or not. Whether we notice or not, the air above you settles as the night grows. Warm layers of the day's breath rise and slip away, replaced by cooler currents that drift in from higher, quieter places. If you could see them, you would watch ribbons of air folding over one another in long, sweeping arcs, moving too slowly for restlessness, too softly for alarm. The same atmosphere that shielded you from harsh light and fast-moving weather during the day now becomes a blanket of stillness. Molecules of nitrogen and oxygen continue their tiny dances, but their dance is measured, balanced, almost serene. The sky may look empty, yet it is full of this quiet activity, always in motion, always in control. You do not have to match any of these movements. You can let them happen far above you while you stay very still. It is enough, in this moment, simply to be here and to soften, deep beneath everything you know. The interior of the earth is also moving, though at a pace that makes even the drifting clouds seem hurried. In the mantle, far below the crust, minerals rise and fall in currents of rock that behave almost like liquid. Some of these crystals climb upward over tens of millions of years, slower than the growth of roots, slower than the settling of sand at the bottom of a still pond. That slow, deep movement carries heat toward the surface, but it does so with astonishing patience. The planet is constantly rearranging itself, yet almost all of that shifting happens far beyond our senses, wrapped in darkness, wrapped in time. Knowing this, it becomes easier to accept that not everything needs to change quickly. The earth itself prefers the long, gentle path. On the surface, continents rest like great, quiet animals that have finally found a comfortable position. They are drifting inch by inch, carried by the slow river of rock beneath them. Mountains rise so gradually that no human eye can watch the change. Valleys widen with the softest of motions, carved by water that wears away stone grain by grain. Even when we imagine the dramatic history of the planet, what truly shapes it is patience, long stretches of calm, unhurried energy, quiet accumulation, Let that thought soften something in you. Let it whisper that your own life can move slowly as well, somewhere not too far from where you lie. The ground is cooling from the warmth of the day. Heat stored in soil and stone rises into the air, then drifts away into the higher atmosphere, where it will eventually be radiated into space. This invisible exchange goes on every night, a gentle release of the day's energy. The ground breathes out its warmth, and the sky accepts it. The balance between them is delicate, yet it has held through countless nights. You can imagine this release as the planet's own sigh, a long, quiet exhale that makes room for rest. While this is happening, you are simply being carried along as a small, cherished part of the same process. You can let some of the leftover heat of your day escape as well, in your own unhurried breath. If your thoughts begin to rise again, like sparks from a fading fire, you do not have to chase them. You can let them float away the way warmth leaves the ground at night. It is enough to know that the earth beneath you is steady and reliable, turning under a silver scatter of stars with slow and faithful grace. You are not separate from it, not truly. Your bones are made from ancient minerals once locked in stone. Your blood carries traces of salts that once drifted in seas. You belong to this world of cooling air and settling soil. You can let that belonging wrap around you like a soft, familiar blanket. You are allowed to relax into it completely. This place you are resting in now is gentle, and you are gently held within it, high above. The planet's magnetic field stretches out in wide, invisible lines that curve from pole to pole. It is a shield born from molten metal moving slowly deep inside the core, a quiet dynamo that has been running for billions of years. Charged particles from the sun racing through space meet this magnetic barrier and are turned aside, guided into gentle spirals that light up the polar skies as shimmering curtains of aurora. Most of the time, you never see this protection. You simply live under its care, day after day, night after night. There is something deeply soothing in knowing that, even in darkness, there are layers of safety you never have to think about. The atmosphere adds another layer of comfort. Thin at the edge and thick near the ground, it filters harsh light, scatters blue into your daytime sky, and softens the blaze of the sun into a golden glow at dawn and dusk. At night, it becomes almost transparent, letting starlight reach the surface in gentle pinpoints. Within this envelope of air, clouds travel at their own slow pace, gliding over oceans and forests with quiet assurance. Even when you cannot see them from where you lie, they are there, moving in wide, soft patterns that wrap around the globe. Their movement is unhurried, their paths are smooth. All of this continues, whether you are awake to witness it or already drifting off into sleep. Sometimes, the night is clear, and the stars appear. Each tiny light is a sun, far beyond your own, sending out beams that cross the cold distances of space for hundreds or thousands of years before touching your eyes. Yet here on Earth, that ancient light arrives in the quietest way. No sound, no rush, just a small, steady shimmer against the dark. The planet spins under this celestial dome with the same dependable rhythm it has kept for ages. One full rotation every 24 hours, one full cycle of day and night, again and again. The constancy of this motion means you never have to ask if morning will come. It always does. This predictable turning is its own kind of lullaby. You can rest inside that certainty, the way a leaf rests inside the pattern of its tree. Beneath the oceans, another cycle continues in silence. Warm water from the surface slowly gives its heat to the cooler, deeper layers. Over long stretches of time, this helps carry energy from the equator toward the poles, smoothing out extremes, keeping climates gentler than they otherwise would be. The great currents glide along the seafloor like massive, slow rivers, almost too patient to imagine. Though you cannot feel them directly, their presence shapes the air that touches your skin. The rain that falls on fields and forests, the temperature of the breeze that may slip through your open window. In the great tapestry of the planet, every quiet current, every soft exchange, contributes to the calm you feel now. On land, plants respond to the fading light. Leaves that spent the day catching sunlight now rest in the dimness. Tiny pores in their surfaces adjust, easing the flow of gases in and out. Some flowers gently fold their petals as darkness deepens, closing themselves against the cool air until the next sunrise. The chemistry inside every stem continues, but at a more tempered pace. Sugars move, water climbs, cells repair themselves. These processes hum along in silence, making no demand on your attention. The living world knows how to continue its work while still respecting the quiet of night. Animals follow their own gentle patterns. In fields and forests, many creatures slow down. Heartbeats soften. Movements grow smaller, more careful, or fade away entirely into stillness. Even nocturnal animals, awake and moving, follow rhythms tuned to the softness of the dark. Paws landing lightly on soil, wings gliding on barely audible air, eyes reflecting faint starlight. Life does not disappear at night. It simply shifts into a calmer register. The world chooses quieter tones. Nothing inside you has to hurry in a world that is already choosing the slower path. Think of the way the seasons loop around you, year after year. The earth tilts, and the amount of sunlight changes, but the pattern remains. Longer days come, then shorter ones. Warmth grows, then recedes. Each season carries its own version of rest, the deep, blanket-like quiet of winter, the slow, drowsy afternoons of summer, the gentle transitions of spring and autumn. Even when you are not paying attention, the planet keeps turning through these cycles, maintaining a soft rhythm of change and return. That rhythm continues tonight. Even as you lie here listening, as you notice these patterns, you might sense a subtle shift inside yourself. The more you picture the earth moving in long, slow arcs, rotating, orbiting, breathing out heat, releasing and receiving energy, the more your own internal pace can align with it. Your thoughts do not need to stop. They only need to drift further apart, like clouds thinning over a darkening sky. Let them move at that pace. Let them soften at the edges. Let them grow quieter. If one part of you is still holding on to the noise of the day, it can set that weight down for a while. Nothing important will be lost in this pause. There is a deep comfort in remembering that you are resting on a planet that knows how to wait. It has waited for continents to drift into place, for mountains to rise, for oceans to cool, for forests to spread. It has waded through ice ages and warm periods, through meteor impacts and long, peaceful intervals of blue skies and gentle rain. Through all of that, it has maintained its turning, its orbit, its steady pull of gravity, holding everything close. You are held by that same pull now. If any part of you still feels tense, you can imagine that tension as small ripples on the surface of a lake at dusk. For a while, they spread, crossing each other in fine, overlapping lines. Slowly, as the wind calms and the stones stop falling, the ripples weaken. They widen and flatten until the water becomes a smooth, dark mirror again. The lake has not disappeared. It has simply found its natural stillness. Your mind knows how to do this too when you give it time, to all across the globe as you listen. Other people are lying down in their own quiet spaces. Some are just beginning to rest. Others are already drifting on the edge of sleep. Each of them is being carried through the night on the same rotating world, cradled by the same atmosphere, shielded by the same magnetic field. They feel the same gravity holding them close to the surface, the same firm support beneath their weight. Whether they know it or not, they are sharing this calm with you. You are part of a vast, resting community of living beings, all breathing, all carried by the same slow-turning earth. A simple truth rises that your life is woven into the planet's quiet rhythms more deeply than you can measure. Your heartbeat slows in the dark, your breath lengthens, your thoughts soften, because the world around you is also easing into its night. You are not trying to relax alone. The earth is relaxing with you. In this shared stillness, life becomes quieter, kinder, and more fully itself in the long memory of the planet. There was a time when everything was warm and glowing, a time when the earth was new, still cooling from its birth, still wrapped in a haze of rising steam and drifting heat. That steam gathered above the young world in a shimmering veil, soft and luminous, as if the whole planet was exhaling after a long, fiery beginning. In that gentle haze, the first rains began, falling not in sudden bursts, but in long, steady curtains of warmth. They fell for ages, drop after drop, until the sound of rain became the background heartbeat of the world. The first rain fell for thousands of years, gathering on stone that was still warm to the touch, flowing into shallow basins that had never known water before. And as that rain continued, soft and patient, the surface of the earth began to change. The surface of the earth began to change. And with each shift, the world moved closer to rest. Steam cooled and slipped downward. Droplets met and merged into small, trembling puddles that grew into pools, which grew into wide, shimmering sheets of water. The first oceans formed not through sudden arrival but through slow acceptance. The land yielded its heat, allowing new water to settle on its surface. If you could have watched it then, the sight would have been soft and glowing. Warm air rising from wide, calm waters, clouds drifting in muted layers. The ground releasing its warmth into the sky like a long-held breath finally let go. The young earth carries a reputation for fire and violence. Yet its transformation into a blue planet was guided more by patience than eruption. The crust thickened slowly, building strength beneath the heavy rain. Mountains that had once glowed with liquid light cooled into dark, quiet ridges. Vast plains solidified beneath warm fog. The world that would one day hold forests and rivers and familiar landscapes first passed through an era defined by slowness. It was a time when every change arrived gently, as though the planet itself was learning how to rest. As the planet learned how to rest, the first oceans deepened. Minerals dissolved into the water, slipping into solution grain by grain. The seas turned faint shades of blue-green as sunlight met shallow depths. The sky above them remained muted, dimmed by thick clouds that still carried the last traces of the planet's heat. Warm rains continued to fall, whispering against the water's surface in a sound that would have echoed softly across the young world. In that sound, something steady and soothing emerged, a rhythm of falling water, a quiet percussion that never hurried. The early earth was wrapped in this gentle song. The moon, closer then than it is now, pulled at these new waters with a slow and deliberate strength. It guided the first tides along the still-forming shorelines, shaping curves in the land that would last for millions of years. These early tides would have moved differently from the tides you know today, smaller, perhaps, but more intimate, almost as though the moon and the earth were learning to move together. With every rise and fall, the water slid along the edges of the land, carving smooth arcs into warm stone. Those motions, repeated endlessly, were among the planet's first acts of rhythm. Among the planet's first acts of rhythm was the slow mixing of minerals, heat, and flowing water. Ocean currents began to form, although gently. Warm water drifted outward from volcanic regions, cooling as it met the early sea. Cooler water sank in soft, steady spirals. These movements were the first hints of a planetary circulation that would one day govern weather, climate, and the cycles of life. Yet, in these early ages, everything moved at a more tranquil pace, as if the world itself were practicing, easing into the motions it would perform for billions of years. If you picture this world in your mind, a warm, rain-softened sphere with glowing seas and quiet tides, you might feel something shift inside you. The earth, as it once was, simple and elemental, carries a softness we don't always imagine. It is easy to think of its early days as wild and restless, yet the truth is more balanced. Even in its youth, the earth understood calm. The warm fog, the gentle rain, the slow collection of water. These early processes shaped the world with deliberate ease, giving everything time to unfold. Giving everything time to unfold is one of the Earth's oldest habits. Those rainfalls continued until oceans covered large portions of the surface. The air cooled. Clouds parted slowly, as if hesitating, revealing glimpses of a pale sun that warmed the new seas with soft light. Steam rose in delicate threads. Water shimmered in broad, glass-like sheets. If you were standing on the edge of one of those first oceans, you would have seen light reflecting in silver patterns across the still warm surface, ripples expanding in slow waves, each one fading into the next dot. In those ancient waters, temperature shifts were gentle. Sunlight did not pierce deeply, but where it touched, it warmed the surface in a steady glow. Beneath that warm layer, cooler waters rested, separated by gradients that flowed like whispers. Minerals continued to dissolve, carried by currents that strengthened over ages. Any life that would one day emerge grew within this quiet environment, a cradle of warmth, water, and slow chemical change, a cradle of warmth, water, and slow chemical change still exists inside you. The fluids within your body echo the chemistry of these early seas. The salt content, the ions that drift in your bloodstream, the way water moves through your tissues, all of it reflects the conditions that once prevailed in the world's first oceans. The planet's early calm became a blueprint for life. It became the foundation for every heartbeat, every breath, every moment of rest. You are held by those ancient rhythms, even now, even if you don't feel them. Your own internal world slows when you let go of the day, just as the earth slowed when it cooled. Chemical reactions inside you quiet themselves. Your muscles ease their tension. Your breath lengthens. It is natural to settle into stillness. It is natural to move at the pace of the early oceans. You can move at the pace of the early oceans, unhurried and soft. The world outside your window may be filled with noise, but the world beneath the noise still carries ancient calm. Water still gathers in slow cycles. Clouds still drift in wide arcs. Rain still falls with patient persistence. Even as climates shift and seasons change, the basic rhythms remain: evaporation warming the air, condensation forming gentle clouds, precipitation returning water to the ground. These movements happen around you every day, connecting the modern world to the ancient earth that learned these motions in its youth. Imagine the water cycle as a slow meditation. Warm seas send vapor upward in soft spirals. That vapor cools as it rises, collecting into clouds that drift across land and ocean. When those clouds meet cooler air, they release their droplets in patterns that have existed since the earliest rains, soft, steady, unhurried. This entire cycle, from sea to sky to sea again, continues in a loop that never breaks. It is one of the planet's deepest breaths. One of the planet's deepest breaths is happening right now. Somewhere far from where you lie, warm air is rising over a sunlit ocean. Clouds are thickening above a distant field. Rain is forming over a quiet forest. Rivers are carrying fresh water back to the sea. Every part of this cycle moves in harmony, helping the planet maintain balance. These cycles supported the first oceans, and they support every body of water you know today. Those early oceans grew wider and deeper over millions of years. They stretched across the young Earth, creating vast regions of blue that gleamed beneath the warming sky. Waves formed, small at first, then larger as winds strengthened. The water's surface became a shifting pattern of reflection and motion, never still, never rushed. Sunlight danced across gentle swells. Shadows rippled beneath drifting clouds. The sea became a mirror for the sky, both of them moving in long, slow rhythms that soothed the whole world. Soothed the whole world. That is what these oceans did. They absorbed heat. They released it slowly. They moderated temperature, smoothing the extremes of day and night. Coastal regions warmed and cooled with calm regularity. Winds softened as they passed over the water. Even volcanic activity beneath the ocean, though dramatic when it erupted, was surrounded by the vast, quiet cushion of the sea, a buffer that kept the planet's surface more temperate than it would otherwise have been. Water has always been a settling force. It absorbs motion and releases it gently. It takes whatever shape is given, filling every space with patient thoroughness. In the early Earth, Water brought stability to a world that had once been molten and restless. It spread across the planet like a cooling balm, bringing peace to everything it touched. And in that peace, the world found its first true quiet dot. In that peace, the world began to shape itself more clearly. Basins deepened. Continental edges softened. Sediment collected in slow layers, creating the groundwork for future landscapes. Minerals that had once been locked in stone dissolved and drifted, spreading nutrients across the seas. These nutrients would one day support tiny forms of life. But in this early era, they simply floated through the water in gentle, swirling patterns. Even now, if you stand beside the ocean and watch the way water moves, you can see echoes of those ancient motions. The stillness of the early earth was not empty. It was full of slow potential. Every wave carried possibilities. Every cloud carried the memory of ancient rain. Every tide remembered the moon's pull. These details combine into a picture of a planet that was moving toward balance long before life arrived to witness it. Long before life arrived to witness it. The planet was practicing the rhythms that would one day become familiar to us. The rising and falling of tides, the warming and cooling of days, the gentle exchange of gases between air and water. These rhythms are the foundation of the world's calm, the reason why Earth became a place capable of holding life in all its forms. They are part of the same calm that settles in you at the end of a long day. You can rest in the knowledge that calmness is ancient. Rest in the understanding that slowness is not weakness but wisdom. Rest in the truth that the world learned to move gently long before we were here to feel it. And as these waters settled into their quiet rhythm, the land beneath them began its own slow rise. The continents did not begin as the vast, familiar shapes you know today. They were once smaller, broken pieces drifting slowly across the surface of the young earth, carried by the deep currents of rock moving beneath the crust. These pieces floated on a layer of heated mantle that shifted with such patience that its motion resembled the slow rise of sap in a tree. A quiet microfact rests at the heart of this chapter. A whisper of perspective. That single truth reshapes the way we imagine the world. A reminder that the largest structures on Earth prefer the gentlest changes. The largest structures on Earth prefer the gentlest changes. And because of this, the story of mountains is a story written in slow motion. Imagine two continental plates inching toward one another over millions of years. The edges meet, resisting at first, then folding upward grain by grain. What begins as subtle pressure becomes the upward curve of a ridge, then a long chain of rising peaks. But in any human lifetime, a mountain does not appear to grow. It holds its shape, steady and ancient, while time flows around it like a soft, persistent wind. The crust beneath your feet is not rigid. It floats, slowly and steadily, on a layer of partially melted rock that moves like warm, thick honey. Deep currents shift beneath this crust, pushing some regions apart while drawing others together. These motions are so gradual that you could stand on a border between plates for your entire life and never feel the ground shift. Yet, over millions of years, those same motions can lift entire continents, raise mountain ranges, and carve deep ocean basins. The patience of geology is almost unfathomable, and yet, when understood slowly, this patience becomes soothing. Consider a mountain range forming. Two plates press into one another. Their edges buckle and fold. Rock layers tilt like pages in a slowly turning book. Each layer bends under pressure, and new layers build above it in quiet stacks of time. Stones once buried deep within the earth rise upward inch by inch, revealing minerals that glitter gently in sunlight. Snow gathers on high peaks, melting in summer, freezing in winter, creating cycles of water that shape valleys and carve gentle slopes. Mountains breathe slowly through these cycles. Snow falls, melts, and falls again. Ice expands and contracts. Water seeps into cracks, widening them year after year. Trees take root, their roots gripping the soil, preventing erosion, holding the mountain's surface with quiet care. From afar, mountains seem eternal, immovable, but up close, you see that they change constantly, just very, very slowly. You see that they change constantly, even when they look still. A mountain ridge expands upward as tectonic plates continue their subtle collision. Rivers carve pathways through valleys. Wind smooths exposed stone. Lichens grow in pale patches on sunlit rocks, their tiny structures breaking down minerals grain by grain. These processes are delicate. They ask for no attention. They simply continue year after year, weaving time into landscape. Mountains are shaped by forces that are both immense and gentle. The Earth's mantle moves in wide circulations, carrying heat from deep within the planet toward the surface. As heat rises, cooler rock sinks in slow, deliberate movements that take millions of years to complete a single loop. These convection currents guide the drifting of continents, pushing them apart or pulling them together. In places where plates collide, mountain belts form. In places where plates pull away, deep rifts open into long, quiet valleys. There is something comforting about this slow dance of stone, a reminder that even the greatest changes happen with patience, that even the tallest mountains grow from tiny shifts repeated endlessly. If you imagine this motion, you might sense your own breath slowing, aligning with the steady rhythm of geological time. The Earth's crust drifts, the mountains rise. The land breathes in its own steady way. The land breathes, and forests settle across mountain slopes, adding another layer of quiet life to the ancient stone. Pine trees root themselves in thin soil. Moss spreads in soft blankets across shaded rocks. Snowmelt forms streams that slip down the mountainside with steady clarity, joining rivers that move gently toward the sea. Even wind takes on a new sound as it moves through mountain passes, lower, more measured, as though the mountains themselves guide its pace. Sometimes, we imagine mountains as symbols of permanence, and yet they are always changing. They respond to the weight of snow. They adjust to the pull of gravity. They lighten when ice melts and deepen when sediment gathers. Even earthquakes, moments often associated with sudden force, are at their core the Earth's way of releasing tension that has built up slowly, quietly, over long periods of time. These releases allow the crust to settle, to find balance again. To find balance again is a universal process, not just geological, but emotional. The same way plates shift, so do feelings. Pressure builds. Tension forms in hidden layers. But when the release comes, it brings clarity, allowing new shapes to emerge in the landscape of the mind. Thinking of mountains can bring comfort in this way, their slow rise mirroring the slow acceptance within ourselves that growth does not need to be fast to be meaningful. Imagine standing on a mountain ridge at dawn. The air is cool, carrying the faint scent of pine resin and damp soil. Light spreads slowly across the slopes, turning shadows into soft outlines. Below you, valleys stretch in quiet folds. Above you, peaks catch the first glow of morning, their rocky surfaces reflecting pale gold hues. This slow illumination is how mountains greet the day without hurry, without noise. Their vastness makes every moment feel calm. Their vastness makes every moment feel calm, and this calm extends through every part of their structure. Peaks shaped by ancient collisions, valleys carved by countless seasons of melt and freeze, rock layers pressed together in graceful arcs, each one telling a story of pressure and release. Even the minerals locked within those rocks hold the memory of earlier worlds, iron forged in ancient stars, quartz formed deep within the crust, mica shimmering between layers like soft silver threads. Above these quiet formations, clouds drift at the steady pace of the atmosphere. They cast moving shadows across the slopes, softening the outlines of cliffs and ridges. Rain falls occasionally, tapping gently on stone. Snow descends in slow spirals during winter, blanketing the landscape in white, insulating the mountain in a layer of cold silence. These seasonal patterns follow the same rhythms that guide oceans and forests. Nothing rushed, nothing sudden. Mountains hold hush as part of their nature. When wind moves across their highest points, the sound becomes a low, lingering whisper. When water drips from high ledges, it echoes in soft patterns. When daylight fades, the stone cools, releasing the warmth of the day in a long exhale of energy. This release is subtle, like air slipping through a half-open window. The mountain does not hurry. It has nothing to rush for. It has all the time it needs. In this slow rhythm, mountains become guardians of silence. They stand between weather systems, shaping wind paths, guiding clouds, influencing rainfall. They create microclimates in protected valleys, where gentler conditions allow forests to thrive. They collect snow in high basins, storing water that will nourish rivers in warmer months. Even in their stillness, mountains participate in the planet's cycles with purposeful calm. Purposeful calm is a quality we often seek in ourselves, especially at the close of a long day. To imagine a mountain rooted, stable, patient, is to imagine a part of yourself that can also be steady. The mountain does not resist time. It works with time. It lets every moment shape it, grain by grain. You, too, can allow the slow processes of rest to shape you, letting tension slide away in quiet layers. If you listen closely in your imagination, you might hear the soft crackling of frost forming on a cold night. You might hear the rustle of dry grass on a sunlit slope. You might feel the texture of weathered stone against your fingertips, cool and rough, carrying the memory of countless seasons. Mountains speak in textures, in faint sounds, in patient movements. They teach without words. They teach without words, reminding you that endurance does not require force. It requires time and willingness to remain open to change. A peak rises because layers of rock accumulate beneath it. A valley deepens because water follows the path of least resistance. Nothing is rushed. Nothing is wasted. All of it happens in a rhythm that supports the entire landscape. It can be comforting to think of the Earth's crust as something alive, not in the biological sense, but in the sense that it moves, responds, breathes. The mantle beneath it circulates heat. The crust above it shifts gently. Mountains form, drift, and wear away. Over millions of years, entire ranges rise and fall, replaced by new formations. This cycle is so slow that no single lifetime can see its full arc. Yet it continues with quiet certainty. Quiet certainty is a gift mountains offer. When you imagine them, you imagine stability that does not require perfection. You imagine strength that does not need to prove itself. You imagine vastness that is content simply to be. These qualities can settle within you, creating a space where your thoughts can rest in the presence of such ancient calm. It becomes easier to release whatever weight the day left behind. The mountains do not cling to their peaks. They let them erode. They do not fear change. They welcome it. They do not force growth. They allow it. And in their stillness, you may find your own. The world around these mountains continues its slow evolution. Rivers carve deeper channels. Ice advances and retreats. Vegetation shifts with the seasons. The mountain accommodates all of it with grace. Its slopes adjust. Its valleys widen. Its peaks weather. Every transformation is part of the long story of stone. Every transformation is part of the long story of stone. And in that story, there is a peaceful reminder. Everything changes, and everything changes slowly. The landscapes that feel so solid beneath your feet are participating in a dance that began long before you existed and will continue long after. Yet through all this movement, the mountain remains a symbol of stillness, a place where time feels stretched and softened. When you think of a mountain now, let it be a gentle image, a ridge rising in morning light, a slope covered in shadows, snow resting in quiet hollows. Let it invite you into its pace. Let it teach you the patience of stone, the calm of slow, steady change. And where stone found its form, life found its place. Soft forests rising in quiet layers over the land. The first forests on earth did not appear suddenly. They emerged slowly, softly, over millions of years, spreading across the land like a green whisper rising from the soil. Before trees stood tall, the world was quieter, barer, shaped mostly by stone and water. But over time, plants adapted, climbing upward, reaching for light that filtered through shifting skies. This rise of forests became one of the planet's gentlest transformations, a soft unveiling of life that would one day cradle entire ecosystems in slow-moving calm. Forests are not merely collections of trees. They are living atmospheres of breath, balance, and subtle communication. They are the Earth's long, quiet lungs. They are the Earth's long, quiet lungs, and they breathe in ways we rarely see. A small scientific truth settles us into this chapter. Trees release water vapor through tiny pores on their leaves, shaping clouds and guiding rain with patient, invisible influence. This process, called transpiration, becomes part of a larger atmospheric rhythm, a slow upward drift of moisture that joins the sky in soft spirals. On a warm day, A forest can release thousands of gallons of this vapor, not in loud bursts, but in steady, gentle streams. Every leaf contributes to this quiet exchange, creating humid plumes that drift above the canopy and become clouds, drifting far beyond the tree line. Imagine stepping into such a forest. Light filters through the canopy in soft, shifting patterns, painting the air with flickers of green and gold. Leaves murmur with the faintest sound as wind drifts between branches. The ground beneath your feet feels springy with layers of fallen needles and old leaves, each one resting in a slow journey toward becoming soil. The air is cool, scented with earth and moss, carrying hints of resin and damp bark. Forests create their own weather, their own mood, their own hush. Their own hush fills every layer. In the understory, ferns unfurl slowly, following the arc of daylight. Small shrubs drink the filtered sun. Mushrooms rise from the soil in quiet colonies, their shapes soft and pale. Higher up, branches weave together in delicate patterns, forming a roof of interlocking limbs. Above that, the canopy catches sunlight and turns it into energy through photosynthesis, a silent alchemy that powers nearly every living thing on Earth. This photosynthesis is gentle. Molecules of carbon dioxide drift into leaves. Sunlight warms the chlorophyll. Sugars form slowly. Oxygen drifts out into the air in soft, invisible flows. Trees do this all day long, exchanging breath with the world. And because there are millions upon millions of trees, forests become immense, slow-moving currents of air transformation. They calm the atmosphere, filtering, balancing, balancing, exhaling. These are not passive acts. They are the forest's way of participating in the world's equilibrium. Trees anchor soil with their roots. They silence erosion. They cool the land through shade and humidity. Their branches catch rainfall and release it gently, so the ground absorbs it slowly, reducing floods. Their trunks provide homes for insects and birds. Their fallen leaves become nourishment for future growth. Everything in a forest feeds something else. Everything in a forest feeds something else. And this interconnectedness is held together by the subtle network beneath the soil. Roots extend outward in long, slow arcs. Some stretch deep into the ground in search of water. Others remain near the surface, absorbing nutrients from decomposing leaves. But hidden among these roots are delicate fungal threads, mycorrhizae, forming bridges between trees. This wood-wide web carries signals and shares resources, allowing trees to communicate in ways that remain invisible to us. When a tree is stressed by drought or pests, it can send chemical messages through this underground network. Neighboring trees respond, preparing themselves, or even transferring stored nutrients to help the struggling tree survive. These exchanges happen quietly, slowly, over days or weeks. There are no loud alarms, no frantic signals, only the steady relay of information, a soft and communal effort that ensures survival for the forest as a whole. In this stillness, life cooperates, patterns repeat, cycles turn gently. Even light behaves differently within a forest. It enters the canopy as a soft gleam, then scatters downward, becoming patches of gold on stone and soil. Sometimes it flickers, sometimes it lingers, Sometimes it fades into shade where coolness gathers like mist. Forests are full of these subtle transitions, places where a single step can bring you from warm light to shadowed quiet. Shadowed quiet is where many creatures find their resting places. Deer pause beneath overhanging boughs. Birds nest among tightly woven branches. Small mammals burrow into soft ground layered with fallen leaves. The forest shelters all, offering shade in summer, windbreaks in winter, and food throughout the year. In forests, the pace of life slows. Movements become measured. Sounds grow soft. One sensory detail stands out, a distant bird call echoing between trunks, thin and airy. Wind brushing through leaves in a long sigh. A faint earthy scent rising from damp soil. These cues anchor you in the forest's rhythm. They shift your awareness toward gentler sensations. The cool texture of bark beneath your hand. The muted crunch of needles beneath your feet. The distant rustle of branches like soft applause. Like soft applause. These sounds welcome you into the forest's calm. They remind you that the world does not always move at the pace of human thought. The forest has its own time, its own patience, its own slow unfolding. Here, plants do not rush toward growth. They allow their seasons to guide them. They rest in winter, awaken in spring, gather energy in summer, and release their leaves in autumn. Their cycles do not hurry. They simply move with the turning of the earth. Trees hold memories. Each ring marks a year, sometimes wide with abundance, sometimes narrow with drought, sometimes dark, sometimes pale. These rings tell the story of seasons long past, each one a quiet record of weather, soil, sunlight, and rain. A tree may hold hundreds such memories, layered in silence, never spoken, never hurried. Time becomes a gentle companion in the forest. Time becomes a gentle companion as the forest itself ages. Saplings rise in small clusters under the protection of older trees. Their thin trunks tremble in wind, learning resilience from their surroundings. As they grow, their branches reach upward, guided by light that traces shifting paths across the sky. Forests are always renewing themselves, even when they appear still. They shed old growth and make room for the new. They absorb fallen trunks into the soil, returning their nutrients to the earth. Everything cycles back into the forest, transformed yet connected. Transformed yet connected. These words capture the essence of forest ecology. When rain falls, it is filtered by the canopy, its droplets slowed by leaves, its path guided by branches. The water slips down trunks in thin streams, reaches the roots, and becomes part of the ground's slow movement. When wind enters the forest, it moves differently, softened by layers of leaves and needles. When light enters, it scatters in luminous fragments. Every element adapts to the forest's calm. If you imagine yourself standing in such a place, the forest gently surrounds you. Light flickers like the flutter of quiet breaths. The air feels cool and moist. A fine mist clings to shadowed patches. Your steps slow without needing to be told. Something in the forest's patience settles inside you. Your thoughts drift. Your breath deepens. This settling happens naturally. Humans evolved in forests, shaped by their calm and guided by their rhythms. The sound of leaves rustling, the scent of resin, the filtered light, All of these cues activate ancient pathways in the mind, encouraging relaxation, attention, and rest. Even if you have never lived in a forest, your body remembers these sensations, stored deep within memory, shaped by countless generations before you. Your body remembers these sensations, and so does the planet. Forests play essential roles far beyond their boundaries. They slow the flow of water, reducing floods. They anchor soil, preventing erosion. They store carbon, calming the atmosphere. They provide habitats for billions of organisms, each one relying on the forest's stability. Even the air you breathe contains oxygen that was once inside a leaf, shaped by a tree through patient sunlight. Forests cool the planet. Their canopies reflect sunlight and release water vapor that rises gently into the sky, forming clouds that drift long distances before releasing rain. The air above forests often contains more moisture, making weather patterns smoother, more balanced, more temperate. This is not magic, but the result of millions of trees breathing slowly, steadily together. Breathing slowly together, forests become one of Earth's greatest harmonies. When the wind rises, branches sway in unison. When rain falls, leaves catch droplets in soft patterns. When sunlight moves across the canopy, it creates waves of brightness that ripple through the forest like a quiet pulse. There is rhythm in every layer. Consider a forest at dawn. Light enters in thin, pale rays. Birds begin to stir, their calls echoing softly. Mist rises from the soil, carrying the scent of night back into the sky. Dew gathers on leaves to be lifted later by sunlight. The forest wakes gently. No alarm is sounded, no rush of energy, only the slow rise of life returning to motion. The slow rise of life continues throughout the day. Sap moves upward, carrying water toward the canopy. Leaves tilt toward the sun, creating a mosaic of shifting light. Shadows lengthen and shorten, following the sun's path. Insects move across bark in small, deliberate steps. Animals forage quietly, leaving faint footprints that soften as the wind drifts through loose soil. As evening arrives, the forest shifts again. Temperatures drop, light dims. Nocturnal creatures wake, their movements cautious and careful. Leaves rustle with the soft touch of night breezes. Frogs hum near slow-moving streams. The forest takes on a new tone, deeper, cooler, more reflective. Yet even in this transition, the pace remains calm. The pace remains calm in every season. In spring, buds unfold slowly. In summer, growth expands. In autumn, leaves turn from green to gold, their colors deepening as the sun lowers on the horizon. In winter, branches rest bare against pale skies, conserving energy, waiting. The forest follows these seasonal arcs with ease, as though guided by an ancient map. In many forests, fallen leaves form deep blankets on the ground. These leaves decompose with the help of fungi, bacteria, and insects, creating rich soil that nourishes future growth. This transformation is slow and continuous. It happens so gradually that you rarely notice it, yet it sustains the forest with quiet dedication. This quiet dedication extends to every part of the forest. Trees grow toward light, but do not compete destructively. Instead, they allow their neighbors to share space. They shape themselves to the canopy around them, filling gaps without overshadowing one another. The forest is not a battleground. It is a community defined by balance. Defined by balance. Forests offer a kind of wisdom to anyone willing to listen. They show that strength comes from endurance, not aggression. That growth comes from patience, not haste. That communication can be subtle and still effective. That cycles are meaningful, even when they turn slowly. As you imagine this world of slow breathing and soft transformation, you may feel something lighten within you. Perhaps an earlier worry has softened. Perhaps your thoughts have stretched out, leaving more space between them. Perhaps your body has settled deeper into rest. If you feel yourself beginning to drift, that is perfectly natural. The forest's rhythm invites quietness. The Earth's oldest landscapes remind you that rest is not a weakness, but a form of strength. Trees do their greatest work in stillness, and beneath these quiet canopies, water begins another journey, drifting across the land in slow, shimmering paths. Before there were rivers, there were only scattered pools left behind by rainfall, small and shimmering on the new land. Over time, these pools joined, their edges gently eroding the soil, forming tiny channels that deepened with every passing season. What began as threads of water became streams, and what began as streams became rivers, long, winding bodies that would one day shape continents with slow, persistent grace. Rivers are the memory keepers of the landscape. They remember every curve they have carved, every valley they have smoothed, every mountain they have touched. And they move not with urgency, but with patience. They move not with urgency, but with patience. And this patience defines the quiet power of water. A soft scientific truth opens this chapter like a whisper. Most rivers take thousands of years to carve their pathways. They do not demand their route. They learn it. They lean into it. They follow the subtle slopes of the land, tracing the paths of least resistance. Along the way, they shape valleys, enrich soil, and cradle ecosystems in their slow-flowing embrace. Watching a river, even in imagination, brings a rare kind of calm, a reminder that movement can be steady and unhurried. Imagine standing near a river's edge. The water glides past you with a sound that feels like a long, slow breath. Its surface holds shifting reflections, trees bending over the water, clouds drifting overhead, the pale blur of sky mirrored across ripples. Beneath the surface, currents form gentle spirals. Sediment drifts in muted tones of amber, gray, and gold. Stones worn smooth by centuries of flow rest beneath the water, their edges rounded by the river's soft insistence. Soft insistence is what makes a river powerful. It does not break through rock with sudden force. Instead, it returns again and again, wearing stone into sand, sand into silt, silt into soil. Each droplet contributes to this transformation, though no single droplet rushes. The river's shape is formed by the contributions of countless moments. Over thousands of years, these small movements accumulate into deep channels and wide valleys. The landscape becomes a long record of water's steady journey. When you imagine the river in this way, something in your mind begins to mimic its movement. Thoughts flow more gently, tension eases. You become aware of how often life asks you to rush, and how seldom it asks you to move slowly, to drift, to settle. Yet drifting is what rivers do best. They follow the contours of the land without resistance. They accept bends, curves, meanders. They embrace detours. Their paths are shaped by openness, not force. Their paths are shaped by openness, and this openness creates beauty. Walk beside a river, and you will see reflections dancing on the underside of leaves. You will see dragonflies hovering above water that glitters in small, bright flashes. You may hear distant birds calling from the trees, their voices softened by the river's gentle murmur. The river does not demand attention, but it offers a sense of belonging, a feeling that everything in the landscape is connected by the slow pulse of water. Water begins its life far from the river's mouth. It rises into the sky as vapor warmed by the sun. It gathers in clouds, drifting overhead with feather-light ease. When conditions change, it falls as rain, each droplet carrying memories of its journey. Rain taps gently against leaves, stones, and soil. It gathers into rivulets that slip across the land. And where many droplets meet, the beginnings of a river take shape. The beginnings of a river take shape quietly. The water slides through narrow channels that widen only as rain continues to fall. It collects in shallow pools, then spills over into larger flows. Early streams may be fragile, easily altered by fallen branches or shifting soil. But with time, they deepen their channels. They find their way. They become more certain of their direction, yet never rigid. Rivers are flexible, responding to every obstacle with softness. This softness guides their every movement. When the river encounters a fallen log, it flows around it, smoothing the wood over time. When it meets a boulder, it curves, carving a slow, graceful arc into the bank. When it reaches flatter ground, its pace slows. The river expands, creating calm, wide stretches where water moves with barely a ripple. These stretches reflect the sky in broad, serene mirrors. You could sit beside one of these quiet waters for hours, letting your thoughts drift like floating leaves. Floating leaves follow the river's motion, carried gently along. Some settle on calm surfaces. Others slip beneath overhanging branches. A few may swirl into eddies, twirling in soft circles before flowing onward. These small movements echo the river's larger rhythm, the rhythm of moving forward without hurry, of accepting each change as part of the journey. Farther downstream, the river gains strength. Tributaries join it, each one adding new minerals, new sediments, new stories. The water darkens slightly with depth. The currents grow more organized. Fish glide through these deeper waters in slow, polished movements. Their bodies adapt to the flow, conserving energy by letting the river carry them. Even the plants rooted along the riverbank lean toward the flow, their leaves whispering above the surface in light, flickering patterns. The riverbank offers its own quiet world. Roots extend into the soil, stabilizing the edges of the waterway. Grasses sway in the breeze. Wildflowers bloom in soft clusters. Frogs rest on lily pads, rising and sinking slightly with each rippling breath of water. Birds wade in the shallows, searching for insects. Every living thing near a river learns its pace, adjusting to the soft cadence of flow. Flow changes with the seasons. In spring, melting snow feeds the river, lifting it slightly, making it fuller, richer. Its flow becomes cool and fast, though still gentle in tone. In summer, warmer air slows the surface, creating small glimmers of heat. Water levels drop, revealing smooth stones that were hidden earlier in the year. In autumn, falling leaves drift onto the water like small, floating lanterns. In winter, ice forms at the edges, tracing thin white lines along the riverbank, creating lacework patterns that sparkle in low light. These seasonal movements bring quiet variety. No 2 days along a river feel the same, yet the overall rhythm remains steady. This steadiness mirrors the steady rhythms inside you, your heartbeat, your breath, your cycles of waking and resting. Rivers remind us that even constant change can feel peaceful when it happens slowly. When you follow the river's path in your mind, notice how it curves. These curves, called meanders, form naturally as water seeks the easiest direction to flow. Over time, the meanders become more dramatic, looping in wide arcs across flat plains. The outer edges of the curves erode more quickly, while the inner edges gather sediment, creating soft shelves of sand and soil. Eventually, the meanders may cut off entirely, forming isolated ponds called oxbow lakes. These lakes rest quietly beside the river, remnants of its past shape. Remnants of its past shape remind us that memory is a living part of water. Every ripple carries echoes of earlier rains. Every current holds traces of distant mountains. Every droplet has touched other landscapes, other skies, other forests. Rivers remember each place they have traveled, not consciously, but through the minerals, sediments, and particles they carry. Their waters are archives of the Earth's slow story. This archival nature makes rivers central to life. Ancient civilizations formed along their banks. Animals migrate to their waters. Plants thrive in their moisture. Even today, water from rivers nourishes fields, fills reservoirs, and sustains ecosystems that stretch far beyond their visible boundaries. A river is both a pathway and a lifeline. A river is both a pathway and a lifeline, and it offers lessons in its motion. It teaches that progress does not need to be fast, that movement can be gentle, that obstacles can be met with flexibility, that direction can change without chaos. The river moves forward without forcing its way, trusting gravity to guide it toward the sea. Picture the river nearing its journey's end. Its flow widens, its current slows. Sediment settles into deltas, fan-shaped formations that reach into the ocean like slowly opening hands. Wetlands form here, rich with reeds and grasses, alive with birds and insects. The river's freshwater mingles with the ocean's saltwater, creating gradients where fish and mollusks thrive. This mixing is delicate, balanced, essential to the world, is the way rivers bring minerals from mountains to oceans, enriching marine life. Without rivers, the sea would lack many nutrients that support its ecosystems. Without rivers, deltas would not form, wetlands would vanish, and coastlines would shift dramatically. Rivers hold coastlines in place, just as they carve valleys inland. Their influence stretches across continents. As the river enters the sea, its fresh water diffuses in soft spirals, carried outward by tides. Sunlight shimmers across the merging waters. Waves fold over one another in quiet patterns. The river completes its journey, not abruptly, but gracefully, blending with the vastness of the ocean. Its path ends, yet its influence continues. Watching this meeting in your imagination, you might feel a sense of closure, not final, but peaceful. The river has moved slowly, steadily, purposefully, carrying memories across great distances. It has shaped landscapes, nourished life, and carved its story into the earth itself. The river has carved its story into the earth, and now a reflection settles. You, too, carry your own slow-moving rivers within you. Your thoughts flow. Your breath travels through you. Your life, carves patterns, subtle but enduring. Each moment shapes you the way water shapes stone, softly, persistently. Sometimes your river feels still. Sometimes it feels fast. Sometimes it meanders, taking unexpected turns. All of these movements are natural. All of them contribute to the shape of who you are. Let your river flow gently now. Let the day's tension settle like sediment sinking to the bottom of a calm pool. Let your breath move with the rhythm of slow water. You are drifting along a path that does not require speed, only presence, and where rivers meet the sea, a wider world opens, a gentle expanse of shifting tides and quiet coasts. The ocean has always been the planet's calmest heartbeat. Its waves rise and fall in a steady rhythm that has persisted for billions of years. Long before forests grew tall or rivers carved their wandering paths. When you imagine the ocean, imagine not the restless surface we sometimes see in storms or wind, but the deeper, older stillness that lies beneath. Imagine the quiet pulse that moves through the water with patience, shaping the world with motions so slow and steady they resemble the breathing of the earth itself. In this chapter, the ocean becomes a place of drift and depth, a place where time expands, softens, and settles. A small scientific truth eases us into this world. Deep ocean currents travel so slowly that some take nearly 1,000 years to complete a single global journey. This fact, gentle and colossal, sets the tone. 1,000 years for one loop, 1,000 years for a single pulse. This is the pace of the ocean's hidden movements, the quiet circulation that carries warmth and nutrients around the planet. Even the surface waves, the ones that shimmer under moonlight, are only a thin skin above this vast, slow-moving world. Above this thin skin, the ocean and the moon share a conversation of gravity and grace. The moon's gentle pull lifts the water, creating tides that slide along shorelines in soft, repeating arcs. Twice a day, the water rises, then falls, following the moon's path with a fidelity older than memory. If you close your eyes, you might picture that slow lift, water gathering, stretching, reaching toward the moon, then relaxing again. This rise and fall is one of Earth's most ancient rhythms, a quiet language spoken between ocean and sky. A quiet language spoken between ocean and sky continues, even when no one watches. On a calm evening, the tide whispers across the shore. Each wave sighs as it reaches the sand, then slips back into itself with a soft murmur. These sounds repeat in gentle cycles, each one echoing the last, each one part of the same long breath. The ocean is the largest body on Earth, yet it moves with surprising softness. Even its patterns of energy, waves, tides, currents, feel more like slow motions of thought than force just beneath the surface. Light scatters into shifting blue-green bands. It dances over the backs of small fish, glimmers on drifting plankton and fades gradually into deeper shades of dusk blue. The first few meters of water are alive with movement, tiny currents weaving, sunlight shimmering, bubbles rising with soft silver tones. But as you descend deeper, the ocean grows quieter. Colors dim, sounds fade. Temperature drops with gentle precision. Temperature drops as you drift downward, crossing the thermocline, a layer where warm surface waters transition into colder depths. The change is gradual. At first, the water feels cool, like evening air, then cooler still, like the hush before dawn, and then cold enough that movement slows naturally, inviting calm. The thermocline is a boundary of sensation, a quiet line that marks the beginning of the deep ocean. Once you cross it, the world becomes hushed. The world becomes hushed in these deeper layers, where sunlight no longer reaches. Here, pressure increases with patient intensity, not crushing suddenly, but accumulating gently over distance. The water grows darker until it resembles a soft twilight, then deepens into near blackness that feels more like velvet than void. Many creatures in this space produce their own faint glow through bioluminescence, tiny drifting lanterns that flicker in gentle shades of blue and green. Their soft lights pulse slowly, illuminating the water in brief. Dreamlike flashes appear as creatures move without hurry. Some drift in slow, delicate spirals. Others glide silently along invisible paths. Everything here respects the quiet. Even large animals, the deep-diving whales, the slow-moving sharks, move as if time itself has thinned. Their motions are smooth, deliberate, without wasted energy. They follow currents that guide them along ancient routes, paths shaped by water older than any living memory. The deep ocean floor stretches beneath them like a vast, dark plain. Its surface is not empty, but full of subtle forms, fine sand, scattered rocks, coral branches that have grown in slow, spreading lattice. The floor holds traces of ancient life, shells, fragments of bone, mineral deposits that settle grain by grain over thousands of years. These layers create their own quiet archive, a map of time written not in words but in sediment. Sediment drifts downward constantly, a delicate rain of organic matter that feeds the deep-sea world. It falls from above like soft snowflakes, slow and steady. This marine snow nourishes creatures living where sunlight never reaches, sustaining entire ecosystems in calm, shadowed realms. The pace of life here is slower, metabolism lower, movement gentler. It feels like a world designed for stillness. Above these depths, the ocean's great currents continue their global journey. Warm surface waters travel toward the poles, where cold air cools them. The water becomes denser, sinks, and begins moving back toward the equator in slow, powerful streams. This process, called the thermaline circulation, is the planet's great conveyor. It transports heat, balances climate, and shapes weather patterns in subtle, patient ways. Though invisible, it is one of Earth's most vital rhythms. One of Earth's most vital rhythms is also one of its quietest. The deep currents move without sound, without visible disturbance, following paths carved by the planet's shape. They glide around underwater mountains, flow through narrow channels between continents, and circle vast basins in long, looping arcs. It takes centuries for a molecule of water to complete the full circuit, yet it does so without rush. It simply follows gravity and density, choosing the calmest route. The calmest route is also the most effective. Through this slow movement, the ocean redistributes warmth from the equator to higher latitudes, keeping climates milder than they would otherwise be. It transports dissolved oxygen to deep waters, allowing life to thrive far from the surface. It carries nutrients that feed phytoplankton, tiny plant-like organisms that produce a significant portion of the oxygen you breathe. The ocean works quietly but tirelessly, giving far more than it takes. At the surface, these global processes express themselves in gentler forms. Tides rise and fall with the moon's pull. Waves ripple with the wind's touch. Currents drift along coastlines, carrying warmth to colder waters and coolness to warmer shores. On a warm evening, if you stand near the ocean, you might feel a slight breeze rising off the water. This breeze exists because the ocean holds heat differently than land. It warms more slowly and cools more slowly, creating subtle shifts in air that guide wind in soft, predictable patterns. Soft, predictable patterns are woven through every part of the ocean's story. Even the colors change gradually, from turquoise in shallow reefs to deep blue in open waters, and eventually to near black in the abyss. These gradients soothe the eye, mirroring the gradients of thought. Scientists often describe the ocean as layered, but the layers are not rigid. They blend, shift, and fold into one another with graceful fluidity. Within the upper layers, life moves with gentle persistence. Schools of fish swim in flowing formations, turning as one body, their silver scales catching light in soft flashes. Jellyfish pulse through the water with slow, rhythmic motions, their translucent bells glowing faintly. Sea turtles glide like drifting leaves. Rays move like shadows cast by moving clouds. Every creature here follows the water's lead, allowing currents to guide their direction. Allowing currents to guide your direction is a theme the ocean offers to the mind. When you picture the water flowing, you might feel your thoughts begin to loosen. You might sense a gentle pull toward ease. There is no rush in the ocean. There is no urgency. Only drift, only flow, only the patient unfolding of movement over time. Deeper still, the quiet intensifies. Some creatures produce their own light, tiny sparks that fade into dark as quickly as they appear. Others move with such stillness that they seem part of the landscape. The water down here is almost completely still, except for the slow push of deep currents and the gradual sinking of marine snow. Pressure is immense, but life persists, adapting in silence. Adapting in silence. This is the ocean's lesson. It does not resist pressure. It evolves within it. It does not oppose gravity. It works with it. Its creatures survive through gentleness, not aggression. The deep ocean reminds us that strength can be quiet, that resilience can be soft, that survival can unfold in slow, deliberate patterns. As the ocean rises back toward the surface in your mind, light reappears gradually, first as faint blue, then brighter turquoise, then shimmering silver. The transition is smooth, like waking from a deep dream. You approach the upper layers, where sunlight warms, water and life thrives more visibly. Coral reefs glow with pastel colors. Small fish dart between ridges of stone and branching coral, each movement quick yet light. Sea grasses sway in long, gentle arcs. Everything here responds to the slow arrival of sunlight. Everything here responds to sunlight, the same sunlight that warms the atmosphere. The forests, the rivers you have already visited in earlier chapters. The ocean absorbs much of this light, releasing its heat slowly throughout the day and long into the night. This slow release keeps coastal regions mild, supporting life on land and water. Even the colors of sunset, orange, pink, lavender, deepen when reflected off the ocean's surface, creating scenes that have inspired calm for countless generations. At night, when the moon rises, the ocean becomes a mirror of silver and shadow. Moonlight stretches across the water in a glowing path, often called a moonbeam road. It looks as though you could walk across it. Waves reflect the light in soft ripples. The tide shifts again, guided by the moon's pull. You can imagine hearing the soft lapping of water against shore, a sound that repeats in endless, soothing cycles. Endless, soothing cycles define the ocean's relationship with time. Waves arrive, retreat, and arrive again. The tide rises, falls, and rises again. The currents move, loop, and move again. These patterns continue through centuries, providing the planet with a slow, steady pulse. When you attune your mind to these rhythms, even briefly, you may feel tensions begin to melt. Thoughts begin to soften, breath begin to slow. At the edge of the ocean, where land meets water, the world feels balanced. Sand shifts gently beneath your feet. Foam gathers and dissolves. The horizon stretches in a long, calm line. The sound of waves becomes a steady lull, a natural rhythm for rest. Even imagining this moment can ease the weight of the day. The ocean's calm is large enough to hold your worries without being disturbed. The ocean's calm is large enough to hold everything. It holds the memories of rivers that feed into it. It holds the warmth of sunlight absorbed during the day. It holds the weight of the moon's pull. It holds the slow drift of continents. It holds life in countless, quiet forms. And in holding all of this, it becomes the planet's greatest reservoir of stillness. If you feel yourself drifting now, that drifting is natural. The ocean invites drift. It invites softness. It invites surrender to rhythm. Let your thoughts be like small boats on gentle currents, carried where the water chooses, without need for direction. And as oceans breathe in their slow, steady cycles, the sky above gathers its own quiet wonders. The sky above you is never truly still, yet its movements are some of the softest expressions of nature. Even when nothing seems to be happening, air is drifting in slow layers, clouds are forming in quiet bursts of vapor, and sunlight is weaving through particles too small to see. The atmosphere is a vast, gentle envelope surrounding the planet, and within it, countless calm processes unfold every moment. If forests breathe slowly and oceans pulse in long, steady rhythms, then the sky hums, a soft, airy vibration that stretches across continents with weightless ease. In this chapter, the sky becomes a place of lightness and drift, a world that moves with both subtle intention and quiet surrender. A single microfact opens this chapter like a cool breeze. Most clouds drift at only a few miles per hour, floating slowly across the atmosphere like careful sculptures molded by air. They do not rush overhead. They glide. They respond to soft winds that guide them from one horizon to another. Sometimes they stretch into long, thin strands. Sometimes they gather into towering shapes that glow white against blue. But even the largest clouds move with surprising gentleness. Clouds move with surprising gentleness because they are made of countless droplets held aloft by rising air. Warm air lifts upward, cooling as it rises. This cooling allows water vapor to condense into tiny droplets that cluster around specks of dust. These droplets collect and form visible clouds, shapes that shift and soften depending on humidity, temperature, and wind. From the ground, clouds may look like solid objects, but up close, they are mist. They are softness itself. Softness itself fills every corner of the sky. Imagine looking upward on a still morning. Wisps of cirrus clouds stretch thinly, like soft brushstrokes. Their edges fade into sky blue quiet. Below them, cumulus clouds float with rounded tops and shadowed bases, drifting slowly across the open air. Sunlight filters through, casting gentle rays in pale gold tones that shift with each passing minute. You might notice the faint sound of wind drifting through treetops nearby, a cool rustle, rhythmic and low. Rhythmic and low, the wind carries the sky's secrets. It does not roar unless conditions change sharply. Most of the time, it whispers. High in the atmosphere, winds move more quickly, but even then, they follow smooth paths shaped by temperature gradients. These upper winds stretch across continents in long ribbons known as jet streams. Powerful but steady flows that guide weather patterns. But down here, closer to the surface, the wind softens. It brushes your skin lightly. It shifts your hair. It stirs leaves into small spirals on quiet paths. The atmosphere itself is layered. The troposphere holds clouds, rain, and familiar weather. Above it, the stratosphere forms a calm, cold band where few clouds exist and where the protective ozone layer filters sunlight. Even higher, the mesosphere and thermosphere stretch into expansive, otherworldly cold, where air grows thin and silence deepens. Yet even in these higher layers, air moves. It drifts in long waves. It expands and contracts with sunlight. It glimmers faintly beneath auroras. This drifting begins with warmth. When sunlight touches the earth, it heats land, water, and air. Warm air rises gently, creating pockets of low pressure that draw cooler air inward. This movement forms breezes, slow shifts that feel like the earth exhaling. At night, as the land cools, the process reverses. Cooler air slides downward, settling across fields, forests, and oceans in soft waves. These cycles continue every day, shaping weather quietly. Weather shaped quietly is weather that feels calming to imagine. A gentle rain begins, not with sudden force, but with accumulating droplets that gather in clouds and fall. When the air can no longer hold them, each drop forms high above, carried downward by gravity, catching light. Rain softens sound, touching stone and soil with delicate taps. Mist rises from wet ground. Puddles mirror the sky in small, still pools. The world becomes muted, wrapped in cloud-filtered light. Light behaves differently in these conditions. When clouds are thin, sunlight scatters through them, creating halos and sundogs, soft rings or points of color around the sun. When clouds thicken, light becomes diffuse, eliminating shadows and creating a dreamy glow across the landscape. At sunrise and sunset, when the sun's rays travel through thicker layers of the atmosphere, the sky ignites in gentle hues of pink, lavender, gold, and rose. These colors fade slowly, one brushing into another, until the sky darkens into deep blue. Deep blue skies hold their own calm. The color comes from sunlight scattering through molecules in the air. Shorter wavelengths, the blues, scatter more easily, filling the sky with their soft glow. When you look upward, you are seeing countless interactions between light and air, an ongoing dance too small to witness directly. Yet the effect is vast, surrounding you in a dome of gentle color. Gentle color often appears in clouds themselves. Some glow with a faint silver sheen, others take on warm peach tones in evening light. Occasionally, high-altitude ice crystals create iridescent patches, shimmering like pastel rainbows. These effects feel almost unreal, yet they are simple expressions of physics: light bending, scattering, reflecting off droplets and crystals in the sky's quiet medium. The sky's quiet medium extends far across the world, linking distant places through continuous currents of air. A breeze that begins in the mountains may travel to the plains. A gentle draft forming near the ocean may move inland. Over time, these movements become large patterns: trade winds, monsoon flows, polar easterlies. But even these feel calm when imagined at a human scale. They drift, they adjust, they respond to the Earth's rotation, bending slightly as they travel, creating smooth arcs across hemispheres. Smooth arcs hold the movement of air in harmony. The Coriolis effect, the Earth's rotation influencing wind patterns, curves wind gently to the right in the northern hemisphere and to the left in the southern hemisphere. This shaping is subtle but essential. It creates spirals in storm systems, directs ocean currents, and organizes large-scale weather patterns. Yet, on a calm day, you would never sense this invisible guide. The breeze simply feels like a soft touch. A soft touch is how the atmosphere communicates with the surface. Cool air slides down hills at night. Warm air rises over sunlit fields. Breezes shift along coastlines as the ocean cools more slowly than land. Every movement supports balance. Every drift carries intention. At times, clouds build into larger shapes. Towering cumulus clouds rise in slow columns, sculpted by upward drafts. They glow bright white at their tops and soften into gray at their bases. These clouds may appear heavy, but they form slowly, layer by layer, as warm air lifts moisture upward. Even the grandest cloud structures begin with the smallest droplet. The smallest droplet can become part of something immense. When many droplets join, clouds thicken. When they thicken, enough raindrops form. These raindrops fall when they become too heavy for air currents to hold. But even in these moments of downward motion, there is grace. Each drop follows its own path, shaped by air resistance, wind, and temperature. Each one takes its time. Its time, a phrase that reflects the sky's relationship with movement. Air does not rush unless pushed. Clouds do not change shape unless guided. Everything unfolds at the pace dictated by warmth, moisture, and flow. When these elements come into harmony, the sky becomes a masterpiece of calm. Imagine lying on soft grass, looking upward. A single cloud drifts overhead, changing shape slowly. It stretches, then it softens. Then it dissolves into thin wisps. The sky feels endless above you, yet comforting. The blue deepens as afternoon settles. A slight breeze crosses your face. Leaves rustle nearby, creating a gentle chorus. This moment feels like the world asking you to rest. The world asking you to rest can be felt, especially at dusk. As sunlight fades, the atmosphere cools. Colors shift. Pink melts into rose, then peach, then pale gold. Birds make their final calls. Breezes calm. Clouds darken into soft silhouettes. At twilight, the sky becomes a wide canvas of fading light, a slow descent into night. Night arrives quietly. Stars reveal themselves one by one. High-altitude winds continue their steady drift. The air cools in layers. Near the ground, breezes slow to whispers. Far above, the jet stream carries cold air across continents. But from where you rest, the sky seems peacefully still. Within this stillness, the atmosphere continues its quiet work. The ozone layer filters ultraviolet radiation with patient consistency. Earth's magnetic field guides charged particles from the sun, creating auroras that shimmer in green and violet arcs near the poles. These lights dance in slow waves, rising and falling like luminous curtains. Their motion feels both cosmic and intimate, a reminder of the sky's hidden depths. Hidden depths extend to the thin, cold layers of the upper atmosphere, where meteors slide into view as soft streaks of white. These moments are brief, but their energy dissipates softly, burning dust into trails of light that disappear as quickly as they appear. Even here, at the edge of space, movement follows a quiet, respectful rhythm. Respectful rhythm defines the entire sky. Air currents shift with courtesy, adjusting to pressure and temperature. Clouds form with patience. Light scatters with consistency. Rain falls with gentleness. Every part of the sky works together, forming a balanced system that feels both vast and soothing. Vast and soothing, the same qualities you might feel now as your breath slows. Imagining these calm patterns encourages your own rhythms to soften. Your thoughts may drift like clouds, passing slowly. Your awareness may expand like the sky at dusk, opening wide, then narrowing gently into stillness. There is no need to grasp anything. No need to focus. The sky teaches release as the chapter nears its gentle close. Imagine once more the drifting of clouds. A slow movement, a soft folding of air, a quiet rearrangement of shape. Nothing forced, nothing hurried, only the sky continuing its ancient patterns of motion. And beneath this calm sky, life moves at its own slow pace, from the smallest cells to the quiet rhythm of sleeping creatures. Life on Earth moves at many speeds, yet some of the most enduring rhythms are the slowest ones. While certain creatures dart through forests or sprint across plains, others move with the calm patience of the world that shaped them. These beings unfold their lives in gentle arcs, following patterns that soothe the senses and soften the mind. They show us a truth often forgotten, that nature's quietest motions are also some of its most essential. In this chapter, life becomes a slow drift, a breathing tapestry of delicate rhythms, from plants rising through soil to animals gliding through water and air. A small scientific truth opens the chapter like a quiet footstep. Some trees pull water upward through their trunks at only a few inches per hour. This movement, called transpiration pull, is enough to keep a tree alive, yet it is so slow that it resembles the soft rise of a sigh. This detail sets the tone for the journey ahead, where slowness is not a limitation but a form of wisdom. A way the living world conserves energy while moving through time with ease. Trees embody this steady rhythm. Their leaves unfurl with patient grace. Their roots grow in subtle spirals, navigating soil one grain at a time. Their trunks widen year by year, adding thin rings that mark the passage of seasons. These rings become a record of rainfall, sunlight, drought, and growth, a quiet biography written in wood. Trees do not hurry. They respond to light, temperature, and water in measured steps, trusting the earth to guide their rhythm. Standing beneath a tall tree, you may feel a soft awareness rising within you, a recognition that time can stretch itself gently. Time can stretch itself gently in the animal world as well. Some of Earth's most peaceful creatures move so slowly that watching them feels like observing the unfolding of a thought. Tortoises graze in smooth arcs, their motions purposeful but unhurried. Their shells carry the warmth of the sun, and their eyes shift with calm intelligence. They eat, walk, and rest with a serene acceptance that reflects the landscapes they inhabit. For a tortoise, every step is deliberate, every day a slow, steady experience of the world. In the dense canopy of tropical forests, sloths embody softness even more deeply. They move through branches with the unbroken fluidity of drifting leaves. Their limbs stretch with quiet strength. Their fur collects tiny ecosystems of moss and insects, blending them into the forest they call home. A sloth may spend hours resting, breathing gently, allowing the world around it to move without concern. This slowing is not laziness. It is energy conservation, a natural design that fits their environment. Watching a sloth, even in imagination, can guide your own breath toward a softer pace. A softer pace also lives in the oceans, where life moves with fluid elegance. Whales glide through deep blue water in sweeping motions that resemble the rise and fall of distant hills. Their hearts beat slowly, their movements expansive and measured. A blue whale, the largest animal ever known, takes long, calm strokes with its fins, moving with surprising grace for its size. Each breath it takes breaks the surface with a quiet plume of mist. Each dive returns it to a world where sound travels in gentle echoes and light fades into cool blue shadows. Cool blue shadows cradle many of the ocean's gentlest creatures. Rays glide across sandy floors in smooth, wing-like motions. Sea turtles swim with steady strokes, navigating currents that carry them across entire oceans. Jellyfish pulse with soft luminescence, drifting in slow rhythms that seem more like breathing than swimming. Their motions require no struggle. They ride currents that guide them effortlessly, trusting the water to support their journey. Even on land, small creatures embody slow rhythms. Snails glide across moss with delicate precision, leaving faint trails that shimmer in early morning dew. Their antennae sway as they sense their worms move quietly beneath the soil, sculpting tunnels that aerate the earth and enrich the ground for plants above. Each of these beings contributes to the world in ways that are both invisible and essential. Invisible and essential processes continue within every living organism, no matter how still it may seem. Inside the body of a resting animal and inside your own body as you listen, cells follow calm cycles. Hormones rise and fall in gentle waves. Temperature shifts ever so slightly between wakefulness and rest. Electrical signals pass through nerves with quiet efficiency. Even when asleep, the body maintains steady rhythms that sustain life. Circadian rhythms shape these patterns, guiding sleep, hunger, alertness, and rest. These rhythms are coordinated by a tiny cluster of neurons in the brain called the suprachiasmatic nucleus, which responds to light and dark. When the sun sets and darkness wraps around the world, the body begins to release melatonin, a hormone that signals it is time to rest. The change is not abrupt. It unfolds slowly, encouraging muscles to relax, heart rate to drop, and thoughts to soften. This process echoes the slow transitions found in nature: twilight fading into night, leaves closing in the evening, petals folding in cool dusk. Petals folding in cool dusk bring us back to the plant world, where nightly rhythms are subtle yet profound. Flowers close to protect their pollen. Leaves shift position to minimize heat loss. Roots continue absorbing water in steady pulses. Plants do not sleep in the same way animals do, but they follow periods of rest and activity shaped by sunlight and internal chemical cycles. Even without a nervous system, plants respond to day and night with patterns that resemble breathing, expanding, contracting, waiting. Waiting is a fundamental part of survival for many gentle creatures. Some insects remain motionless for long periods, conserving energy and avoiding predators. Some fish hover near coral, their fins gently rippling as they hold position. Some mammals, like koalas, spend most of their day resting in branches, digesting nutrient-poor leaves with unhurried metabolism. The world is full of lives that thrive, not through speed, but through patience. Patience becomes a kind of intelligence in long-lived species. Giant tortoises may live for more than a century, moving through their habitats with the same slow rhythm year after year. Certain trees may stand for thousands of years, embodying endurance that spans civilizations. Coral reefs grow 1 millimeter at a time, yet create ecosystems so rich that countless species depend on them. These slow builders shape the earth with quiet persistence. Quiet persistence is also found in microscopic life. Within your body, cells divide at precise intervals. Proteins fold into intricate shapes with gentle chemical guidance. Enzymes work like small, patient tools, assembling and disassembling molecules with delicate timing. The body's quietest functions are often its most essential: heartbeat, breath, digestion, healing, all unfolding without the need for conscious effort. When you observe life at multiple scales, from towering whales to drifting spores of fungi, you see that slowness is everywhere. Nature does not rush to grow. It does not rush to heal. It follows cycles that arc through hours, days, seasons, and centuries. These cycles are not random. They are coordinated, harmonious, guided by light, warmth, water, and time. Guided by light, warmth, water, and time. Life moves with a rhythm that feels both ancient and familiar. Day follows night. Waves follow tides. Animals follow migrations shaped by celestial cues. Plants follow budding patterns shaped by temperature. Everything has its timing, and within that timing, every living thing finds its place. Imagine now a quiet forest at dusk. A deer steps lightly through fallen leaves. A slow-moving armadillo noses through soil for insects. Fireflies blink in soft pulses, creating drifting constellations among the trees. Each movement is gentle, deliberate. The air feels cool. The forest hums with subdued life. This moment captures the essence of soft motion, the world alive, yet calm. Alive, yet calm. Water returns once again to the story. A pond rests at the forest's edge, its mirror-like surface reflecting a dimming sky. Fish move just beneath the water, each fin stroke slow and measured. Frogs sit on floating leaves, breathing in quiet intervals. Reeds sway with the faintest breeze. The pond becomes a microcosm of gentle rhythms, ripples expanding, insects skating lightly, leaves drifting downward to settle on the water. On open plains, herds move with synchronized grace. Wildebeests and zebras migrate in waves, guided by rainfall, stepping slowly in long lines across the horizon. Their hooves rise and fall like a quiet drumbeat. Above them, vultures circle on wide wings, gliding with barely a movement. The land stretches in every direction, bathed in golden light, and everything seems to exhale at once. In deserts, life slows even further. Reptiles rest beneath rocks to conserve water. Cacti store moisture with patient efficiency. Desert tortoises retreat into burrows during the hottest hours. Even the wind is slow, carrying grains of sand in soft currents across dunes shaped by centuries of movement. Nights in the desert bring cool stillness, stars appearing sharp and bright against the clear sky. Stars appearing sharp and bright guide nocturnal creatures across habitats. Owls drift from branch to branch with silent wings. Bats navigate by echolocation, sending out brief pulses that guide them in the dark. Moths flutter toward moonlit flowers, their paths meandering yet steady. The night holds its own ecosystem, one defined not by speed, but by quiet exploration. Quiet exploration is also seen in tide pools along rocky shores. Small anemones open and close with slow, rhythmic pulses. Sea stars creep along rock faces, their movements almost imperceptible. Crabs pick their way through sand with deliberate steps. Waves wash in, linger, and slip back out, creating gentle currents that bring nutrients to these small, enclosed worlds. And yet, even in environments shaped by slowness, moments of stillness dominate. A sloth hanging from a branch remains motionless for minutes at a time, blending seamlessly with the leaves. A turtle resting on warm sand pulls its limbs close, breathing in long intervals. A jellyfish floating in the current barely seems to move at all. Stillness becomes a form of motion, a way of interacting with the world without expending unnecessary energy. Without expending unnecessary energy, nature preserves itself. Ecosystems remain balanced because each creature follows its own pace. Nothing in the natural world demands constant motion. Instead, life unfolds in cycles of effort and rest, movement and pause. These patterns are essential. They prevent exhaustion. They sustain stability. Stability carries into the final reflection of this chapter. Life in soft motion teaches us that rest is not separate from living, it is part of it. Every creature, no matter how small or slow, participates in the world through deliberate choices shaped by long histories of adaptation. Slowness allows creatures to conserve energy, avoid danger, and live longer. It also creates space for awareness, presence, and calm. As your breath settles into its own quiet pattern, the chapter's rhythm drifts toward its closing cadence. Gentle creatures continue their slow, steady movements in your imagination. Trees pull water upward in measured inches. Whales glide through blue depths. Sloths move through branches with thoughtful care. Everything unfolds in soft, patient arcs, and from the living world, we drift outward again toward the planet's quiet heartbeat beneath our feet. The earth turns beneath you every moment. Though the motion is too smooth to feel, it rotates with patient steadiness, orbiting the sun in a wide, gentle loop, carrying all life through cycles of warmth, growth, rest, and renewal. This constant turning creates the seasons, not through abrupt shifts, but through a slow tilt, a quiet lean of the planet that changes the angle of light across continents. Everything you know about the rhythm of the year begins with that simple, steady inclination. A soft scientific truth opens the chapter. Earth's axis tilts just enough, about 23.5 degrees, to create the shifting tapestry of seasons. Without this tilt, the world would change far less, and life as we know it would lose much of its gentle variety. Gentle variety is the essence of the seasons. Their transitions are always gradual, always unfolding with patient care. Spring does not burst into being overnight. It creeps into the landscape with damp soil, tiny buds, and the cool shimmer of early morning light. Summer arrives with longer days, warming the earth in layers. Autumn slips in with breezes that carry the scent of dried leaves. Winter settles softly, its quiet weight draping the land in rest. Each season is both a shift and a continuation, a reminder that time is a circle, not a line. Time is a circle in the way sunlight moves across the sky. In summer, days stretch out, holding the sun high for long hours. Shadows shorten, then lengthen again as evening comes. In winter, light arrives slowly and retreats early, carving shorter arcs across the sky. These patterns guide every living thing, from flowering plants to migrating birds. Light is the world's oldest clock, and everything responds to it with instinctive, quiet precision. Plants feel these changes first. In early spring, when sunlight begins to linger slightly longer each day, chemical signals awaken inside roots and stems. Buds swell at the tips of branches. Leaves begin to unfurl. Flowers open with cautious delicacy, offering color to a landscape still waking from winter. These transformations are slow. A leaf unfolds over hours. A flower blooms over days. A tree fills with foliage over weeks. And beneath each unfolding lies a deep intelligence, a sense of timing carried in every cell A sense of timing shapes the animal world as well. Birds time their migrations to the shifting angle of the sun. Their internal clocks tell them when to move north or south, following invisible pathways across oceans and mountains. These journeys happen gradually, flock by flock, wing by wing. Some fly thousands of miles in slow arcs guided by celestial cues. As they move, they stitch together the seasons with their own motion, carrying life between regions that change in turn. As creatures migrate, the land beneath them shifts to grasslands green in spring warmth. Forests deepen in summer shade. Deserts shimmer in late-season heat. Tundras quiet beneath winter snows. The planet breathes in long cycles, carrying the pulse of seasons across continents. Each region has its own pattern, its own version of these transitions, some subtle, some vivid, but all rooted in the steady tilt of Earth. Steady tilt, steady movement. These are the threads woven through every seasonal change. As the planet orbits the sun, its tilt creates variations in how much sunlight each region receives. Where the sun's light falls more directly, warmth spreads. Where the light arrives at an angle, cooler air settles. These temperature changes guide winds, shape storms, and influence rainfall. The atmosphere responds in slow curls of air that drift from equator to pole and back again, repeating movements that have existed for millions of years. Millions of years of repetition create stability. Even when weather seems unpredictable, the underlying cycles continue, holding the planet in patterns that support life. Heat rises from the sunlit oceans, forming currents that move across the globe. Moisture evaporates into the air, forming clouds that drift in soft patterns. Rain falls, returning water to the land and feeding rivers. Snow accumulates in winter, storing water that will melt into streams in spring. These cycles complement one another, balancing the flow of energy and nourishment across Earth. Nourishment arrives in many forms. In spring, fresh rains seep into soil, awakening seeds that have waited in stillness through cold months. Germination begins quietly, a small root pushing downward, a thin shoot rising through dark earth toward light. By summer, fields and forests hum with activity. Leaves gather sunlight. Flowers attract insects. Fruit swells with warmth. The world feels full, busy, yet still held together by underlying calm. Underlying calm returns with autumn. As daylight shortens, leaves sense the change. They begin to pull nutrients back into branches, allowing green pigments to fade, revealing golds, reds, and oranges that had been hidden all along. The air cools. Winds drift lower across hills and plains. Animals prepare for winter by storing food or thickening their coats. The land slows its energy, preparing for the season of rest. The season of rest is winter, a time when the earth seems to hold its breath. Snow settles on fields and rooftops in soft layers. Trees stand bare and quiet. Lakes freeze at the edges, forming thin, glass-like surfaces. Creatures retreat into burrows, nests, or warm dens. Light arrives in shorter intervals, creating long nights that invite reflection and stillness. Winter is not emptiness. It is preparation, a gathering of strength for the renewal of spring. Renewal arrives gradually. As winter loosens, frozen streams begin to move again. Water trickles beneath ice. Sunlight grows stronger each day. Birds return with soft calls. Shoots appear in quiet bursts across thawing ground. The cycle continues, repeating in gentle arcs that guide the planet through time. Season after season unfolds in layered beauty. No hurry, no abruptness, just the soft choreography of Earth's slow heartbeat. Earth's slow heartbeat is also felt in longer, less visible cycles. The planet wobbles slightly on its axis over thousands of years. Its orbit changes shape very gradually. Ice ages come and go in long, measured spans. These cycles influence climate on scales far beyond human lifetimes. Yet they unfold with the same sense of patience found in day-to-day weather and seasonal rhythms. The Earth does nothing suddenly. Even its greatest shifts occur with a slowness that allows life to adapt. Adaptation is one of nature's quiet miracles. Plants change their blooming times. Animals shift their migration patterns. Entire ecosystems reorganize themselves when conditions shift. These adaptations occur not through panic, but through small adjustments repeated over generations. Nature listens to the turning of the earth and responds with grace. Grace appears in countless places throughout the seasons. In spring, it is the delicate unfolding of petals. In summer, the shimmering heat above fields. In autumn, the rustle of fallen leaves carried by the quiet wind. In winter, the soft glitter of snow beneath starlight. Each of these sensations reflects a stage in the planet's cycle, a step in its patient rotation. Patient rotation continues even now as you imagine these seasonal shifts. The earth spins gently beneath you, creating night and day with smooth consistency. As it rotates, its tilted axis carries your part of the world closer to or farther from the sun, shaping the temperature of the air around you. Without effort, without force, the earth guides your days through light and shadow, warmth and coolness, motion and rest. Motion and rest define human experience as well. Just as plants and animals follow circadian rhythms tied to the sun, your own body responds to light with predictable shifts. Morning brightness awakens you. Afternoon light sustains you. Evening dimness encourages your mind to soften. These internal cycles are deeply connected to the turning of the earth. You are part of the planet's rhythm, not separate from it, but shaped by it in every breath and heartbeat. Every breath and heartbeat becomes easier to notice when you think of the world in slow motion. Imagine the cycle of a single day, dawn rising with pale colors, shadows shrinking in the morning sun, warmth settling across the land, evening light deepening into gold, night spreading its cool embrace. The day is a miniature version of the seasons, a small circle within a larger one. Recognizing this pattern invites a sense of harmony. Harmony grows when you imagine the soft transitions between seasons. Spring into summer, summer into autumn, autumn into winter, winter into spring. Each change feels like a quiet turning of a page. The Earth's axis tilts a little differently. Light shifts. Trees respond. Animals move. Winds adjust. Clouds form in new shapes. Nothing resists. Everything flows. Everything flows. And in this flowing exists a peaceful truth. The world does not stay the same, yet it never rushes to change. Seasons teach that growth takes time, that rest is necessary, that transitions are natural. They show that warmth returns even after the longest cold, and coolness returns even after the strongest heat. They remind you that everything is cyclical. Cycles appear not only in seasons, but in tides, moon phases, tree rings, and star paths. Everything that breathes, grows, or moves participates in these slow arcs of time. When you tune into them, you may feel your inner world soften, as if your thoughts are aligning with patterns much older than yourself, much older than yourself. The earth has turned through countless seasons. Entire species have come and gone. Mountains have risen and worn away. Oceans have expanded and retreated. Through it all, the planet has kept its slow, steady heartbeat, the turning, the orbit, the rhythm that shapes life. And now, as this chapter nears its restful close, you may notice a quietness forming in your own breath. The slow turning of the earth, imagined and felt, invites a deeper sense of ease. The day's weight drifts further away. The night settles more comfortably around you, if you're still awake. Your body has already learned the shape of this calm, and with these great rhythms turning softly around you, we return to where we began, your own quiet place in the gentle world. You've traveled through silence and science tonight, drifting through forests that breathe, oceans that pulse, mountains that rise with patient strength, and skies that move in gentle, weightless arcs. You've followed rivers as they curved across continents, wandered through the slow rhythms of creatures who move with grace, and rested within the turning of the earth's seasons. All of these movements, all of these soft truths, have been carrying you toward this final space, a place where the world's calm becomes your own. The earth has shared its quiet with you in layers, the hush of deep oceans, the measured breath of forests, the drifting paths of clouds, the low hum of wind moving across open plains. These rhythms have existed long before your first breath, and they will continue long after, holding the planet in cycles of balance and renewal. And as you arrive in this moment, you join those rhythms simply by being still, simply by allowing yourself to rest. Allowing yourself to rest is not a break from nature, it is a return to it. Every creature, no matter how strong or gentle, follows a cycle of movement and pause. Trees grow slowly, then grow still. Animals forage, then sleep. Even the land itself changes in long intervals of quiet shaping. You are part of these patterns. Your rest is not separate from the world. It echoes the calm that stretches across the planet's surface and deep within its core, deep within your own awareness. You may feel a soft settling, a loosening of thoughts, a quiet drift of breath, a sense that nothing needs to be held or solved or completed right now. You are here in a moment shaped entirely by ease. The earth has shown you that even the largest forces move gently. Continents drift not by rushing, but by allowing time to guide them. Rivers carve their paths by returning again and again with softness. Forests grow by reaching toward light at their own pace. Stillness is not absence. It is participation in a quieter rhythm. A quieter rhythm begins to surround you now. It moves through the spaces between your thoughts, the pauses between your breaths. You may feel it like a soft tide rising within you, lifting gently, then settling again. Just as the moon guides the ocean without ever touching it, This calm guides you without force, inviting you to drift deeper into rest. You've traveled among the planet's slow movements, and now those movements come back to you in gentle echoes. The memory of mountains solid, ancient patience beneath your awareness, like a foundation. The memory of rivers flowing, curving, adapting, moves through your thoughts like a soft current. The memory of forests woven, rooted, breathing settles around you like a quiet canopy. The memory of oceans deep dark, luminous scaries your breath in long, smooth arcs. Long, smooth arcs continue through every part of your mind as the last of the day loosens its hold. Whatever thoughts remain become lighter, softer, drifting like small clouds across a wide sky. They do not cling. They move with ease. The sky you once imagined, with its slow drifting clouds and cool winds, becomes a space within you, open, calm, expansive. You can rest beneath it at any time. Anytime you wish, you can return to the gentle truths the earth has shown you. The truth that change can be soft. The truth that movement can be slow. The truth that life can unfold at a pace that comforts rather than overwhelms. These truths shape the natural world, and they can shape your inner world too. Rest is part of the planet's design, and it is part of yours. Part of yours, also, is the ability to release, to let go of tension like mountains releasing pressure, to settle like sediment drifting to the riverbed, to quiet your mind like a forest at dusk. Release is not an act of forgetting or avoiding. It is an act of returning to yourself, the way a tide returns to shore. What you place down now stays down, resting with the knowledge that it can be lifted again later, when you choose, when you are ready. Choose now to inhabit the gentleness the earth has offered you. Imagine the planet beneath you, vast and steady. Imagine its warmth rising through soil. Imagine its slow rotation carrying you deeper into night. The earth holds you effortlessly. Every breath you take rises into the same air that drifts across oceans and mountains. Every heartbeat echoes rhythms that have existed for billions of years. You are part of that ancient calm. Ancient calm is what greets you here at the end of this soft journey. The quiet around you grows deeper. The world feels heavier in the way that invites sleep. Thoughts dim like distant lights, fading beyond a horizon. Breath deepens. Muscles unwind. In this space, there is no hurry, no demand, only the slow settling of awareness into comfort. Comfort gathers around you like cool twilight settling across a field. It moves gently over your body, encouraging every part of you to soften. The weight you carried through the day lifts inch by inch, dissolving into the quiet that surrounds you. Your breath finds its own rhythm, slow, steady, peaceful, slow, steady, peaceful. These words echo the planet's own heartbeat. And as your consciousness drifts, you may feel the soft hum of that heartbeat aligning with your own. Perhaps you notice your breath slowing. Perhaps your thoughts grow fewer. Perhaps your eyes grow heavier, each blink longer than the last. Or perhaps you are already floating in the space between waking and dreaming. If you're still here, your body already knows what peace feels like. Thank you for sharing this quiet space, for wandering through the earth's gentlest truths, for allowing the world to show you its softer side. May these rhythms stay with you. May they guide you toward deeper rest, deeper quiet, deeper ease. Wherever your mind drifts next, let it drift freely. Let it drift softly. Let it drift without resistance. You are safe in this stillness. You are part of this calm. You are held by the same quiet that moves through forests, oceans, mountains, skies, and seasons. And now, as the night folds gently around you, the earth invites you to rest fully, with no expectation, no effort, no sound, but the slow rhythm of your own breath. Sleep waits for you kindly. Let it arrive on its own time. Good night.